I mean, it only took 3 years and 10 games, but the Knicks finally won the Battle of New York to beat the Nets 124-106 at the Garden. And we're going to have some fun with this. We're going to see who runs New York. So we've got Erik Slater, who's the Nets beat reporter for Clutch Points. And repping the Knicks is Danny B of the Knicks Wall. Fellas,
yes, sir.
Hello to each other. This is the tip-off. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up a topic. I'm going to give someone the floor. You quickly give your hot take, and I'm going to throw it to the next person. And we'll go back and forth. We got 4 topics. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Danny, it took 10 times. You guys won. You're finally on here after a win, so we're going to let you have the court first. Your thoughts and takeaways on last night's win.
Let's go. Knicks run this town all day long. You know, like you just said, man, first time in 10 meetings that we finally pulled out a win. We finally broke the Ben Simmons curse. Guy was 15-0 against the Knicks. Finally got a win against that. Get that out of here. I can't stand that that's even a thing. Let's go. Big win. You know, it just shows who runs this city. You know, I know the Nets they're a good team. They're a team of dogs. You got to, you know, fight for it. But the Knicks are also a team of dogs, and I thought, you know, the best team won.
Erik, how come the Nets lost? What were your takeaways from last night's game?
My first takeaway is never having beaten Ben Simmons. That had a sting for a little bit there. But my takeaways are really just, you know, what you would expect without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on this team. I mean, they're kind of shifting to a score-by-committee offense with a lot of these high-level role players being in here. And that's fine in first halves, but as you saw last night and in their first game against Philadelphia, when it gets down the stretch in the second half, you need some go-to sources of offense and guys that you can be relied on to create something. And it's just they don't have it, and it's evident in the numbers. They scored 38 points in the second half against Philadelphia, 45 points against the Knicks. In those 2 games in second halves, they're 29 of 77 from the field. That's 37%, 6 of 28 from 3, 21%. So they're going to have to figure something out offensively down the stretch of these games to create, because they just don't have the star power with Kyrie and KD out the door.
Well, you mentioned that second half. Let's move on to the next topic. Let's get into that even deeper, because it was almost like a tale of 2 halves for the Nets. They had the lead going into halftime. So what is it that you saw or didn't see from this Nets offense and defense for the reason why they couldn't get it done and pull away the win?
Yeah, I thought the offense really stagnated a lot. We saw Spencer Dinwiddie, the former Net, who's come in, had a big first half, had 20 points in the first half. Then down the stretch of the second half, he started holding the ball a little bit. And some of the guys that they're looking to are going to have to be more involved, like a Mikal Bridges, only took 8 shots, had 7 points. Cam Thomas only took 7 shots, also had 7 points. Like, these are guys where they're going to need to produce and score more, because they're the only guys on the team who can create their own shot. And when you have a lot of guys around them who are shooters, you're looking for the ball to be moving and hopping a little bit more as opposed to sticking. And I thought that's really what happened down the stretch of this game. And then on the other end, you just got Jalen Brunson going off. The Nets are supposed to be a high-level defensive team, and I think they are, but they just had nobody who could check him during that game.
Danny B, you started off the segment saying that the Knicks run this city. They ran the second half last night. What did you see? What were your takeaways?
Well, listen, I thought Erik said it well, and I want to piggyback off what he said, right? Because Dinwiddie had a great first half. He had 20 points. And then second half, you know, like you said, they didn't get nothing out of Dinwiddie, you know, and nobody else really stepped up to, you know, to fill that void. If you took Dinwiddie out of the game, even in the first half, Knicks would have been in control the whole way through. Cam Thomas didn't show up, you know, like you said. Mikal Bridges, didn't see nothing from him, you know. So they definitely need somebody, you know, who's going to be able to take over at the end of games. You know, I don't think Dinwiddie's going to be that guy. But on the other side of the court, the town that runs the team, Brunson was able to get it done. 17 points in that third quarter alone. And then you see Josh Hart. You know, that little shot to the arm that the Knicks got, very Derrick Rose-esque, you know, like the 2020 season. That energy that he's been playing with. Guy had 27 points last night alone. In his second game with this team, it's kind of revitalized not only just the bench unit, but energy across the, you know, the whole roster. So definitely was a big piece of that. Second half right there was the Villanova boys all day long.
Well, you talked about them Villanova boys. Let's segment into this next topic. I went online this morning. They're calling it Knickanova. Knickanova between Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Has the Knicks, is this the superstar duo that can get them over the hump this year?
So I wouldn't say superstar, right? But it's definitely a catalyst. Like we were talking a couple of weeks back, Brandon. And I said pretty vehemently that the Knicks need some kind of a catalyst, right? If it wasn't going to be RJ and Obi coming back off of injury, then we had to look to bolster the roster somehow, some way. There's not anybody out there that's going to make a big needle move, So you get somebody like Josh Hart. The chemistry is great. He obviously has a history with Jalen Brunson, and the energy that he brings is so infectious. I said it this morning on the morning drive. It's like if you took the energy that Obi Toppin plays with, right, and bottled it up, put it into a guard, and let that guard run free. That's Josh Hart right there. The energy was incredible. Brunson, 17 points in that third quarter, leading to Hart's just performance in that fourth quarter. Nick Nova's Nova Boys, the Nova Corps. You hear tons of nicknames. And then I'm going to slide in some heart to hearts because we got that going on also. Valentine's Day, it's just, very timely. So that heart to heart connection also been very fruitful.
Go ahead and trademark that before he does. Now, hey, Erik, he's talking about that Nikanova duo. The Nets don't really have a duo anymore. KD, Kyrie's broken up, but they do have a deep roster. 10 guys played over or got over 10 minutes of playing time or on-court time. Talk about that deep roster, and can they continue to win in the East and get into the playoffs?
I definitely think they can. And I think it's great that they have a deep roster, but it's really interesting because they went from kind of in prior years not having a lot of these wing guys and 3-and-D guys, and now they kind of have too many of them. They have 6 of these guys that they can't play all of them. So I think you saw last night the rotations were a little confusing. Nick Claxton only played 23 minutes. He's been their 3rd best player this year, so I didn't really understand that. Then you have guys like Day'Ron Sharpe and Ben Simmons playing 28 combined minutes, and you just have there seems like there's a lot of confusion. I mean, Cam Johnson, who they acquired, said it after the game, we're calling some of these sets and guys are stopping for a few seconds. Like, what is that action? I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be. So there's going to be some growing pains. And I think that's clear in how Jacque Vaughn is going about handling these rotations, because there's definitely a little bit of wonkiness in what he's doing. But I do think that they'll be able to figure it out if they can kind of find a consistent source of offense down the stretch of games and kind of establish a little bit of a pecking order of who's going to be the guy that we're relying on when we need a bucket.
All right, Erik, you're still sitting at 5th in the East, 2 games ahead of the Knicks. Last but not least, 30 seconds. Who runs New York?
I got to say the Knicks run New York, man.
Oh.
The Nets run New York. No, Nets run New York. I'm sorry.
Let's go. Do I have to
I got to say the Nets run New York because, if we're just looking at it historically, I mean, the Nets run New York, man. The Knicks have a little bit of a window now with KD and Kyrie going out the door, but the Knicks had won their first game in over 3 years. If we're looking over 20 years in the NBA, the last 20 years, who's got the worst record in the NBA? The New York Knickerbockers. Who's only won 1 playoff series in the last 20 years? The New York Knicks. The Nets have won 11 playoff series during that time. They're not great in terms of record, but they're still better than the Knicks. And if the Nets have one thing they can hang their hat on historically in this town, it's, at least in terms of basketball, if we're actually going to talk about what's happened on the court, we've always been better than the Knicks.
Danny B, I'm going to have to give you the floor because he used y'all's government name. The man said the Knickerbockers. Like, 30 seconds,
not only that,
go. Who runs it?
But I'm listening to him talk, and he says, run this town, and I'm just thinking, which town? You know what I mean? Are you talking Brooklyn? You still talking Jersey? I don't know. If you look at the history of New York City, the Knicks run this town. It's plain and simple. It's going to take a lot for the Brooklyn or New Jersey Nets to really gain some steam and gain some tread on us, It's been a New York Knicks town for a very long time. It's historically known like that. You know what I mean? There's movies that talk about the Knicks. It's where's Brooklyn? That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see what happens next time. But for now, the Knicks run this city.
All right. That was a great job, man. Great segment, fellas. This was the tip-off. Erik Slater, Danny B, thanks for joining us.
Salute,
Appreciate you for having me.